What's up, everybody? Saltiest Gaming, and we're back with another podcast. T.S.P. episode 23. What's up, everybody? How's it going?
What's up? What's up, guys?
Yes, sir.
That's
yes,
good.
sir.
Yo,
TSP 23. It kind of rhymed.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Good ring to it.
So, how's you guys' Sunday going?
Man, no football. It's unusual for me, man. Like no football. I just sat at home and chilled and played Xbox and played Switch and hung out with my kids. So I didn't really, spend 6 hours of my day watching sports. So it's a little bit different. But other than that, still doing what I do.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I caught the Super Bowl last week. It was more of, like a party to get people together and eat and stuff like that. I didn't really give a fuck about the game, So
I love the game, but come on, man. Patriots lost. Everybody wanted that to happen, so at least that happened. But yeah, I feel you. I was the same way. I was just hanging out with the family. My wife made these dope sliders and some buffalo chicken dip. Had a few daddy sodas. Kicking it back, it was awesome.
Daddy sodas.
is that what you call them?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Daddy sodas.
Hey, they actually have that hard lemonade and the root beer. So those are like
they have. I think it's called not your daddy's root beer or something like that.
Not your daddy's root beer. Not your daddy's root beer and Dr. It's some weird stuff. It's good though.
Yeah, I've had it once or twice, but I'm very privy to those very hoppy beers, those IPAs and whatnot. I love those things. I think the first Periscope stream I did, I was drinking the Lagunitas Hop Stupid, and that made me very stupid. That was intense, dude.
I remember your live streams were fucking epic. That's how I started to know you back in the day, We talked about the classic what was it, 7-Eleven pizza stream?
That pizza.
Exactly, that 7-Eleven pizza.
Whoa. I didn't know about you did some streams like that? I don't know about this, man. What?
Oh man, you gotta catch me on those Periscope days, man. I have my moments.
Can you go back and pull those, or no? Are they like once they're done, they're done?
Yeah, they're on demand, I think,
on demand.
Periscope account.
I may have to check them out.
they're terrible, dude. They're terrible.
Oh well.
Terribly good. Don't.
Yeah, there you go. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's what, like, I saw your live streams and I'm like, yeah, this guy's the real deal. He's funny. He's cool as fuck. So Luca, what's up, girl?
Not much, man. Just enjoying my Sunday evening, hanging out with you cool guys. Excited to talk about these topics. How y'all doing?
Are you still snowed in over there?
Yes, I am. The smart thing for me to do would be go out and clean my car, but I'm not going to do that. Just going to wait for the last minute.
Dude, it was bad yesterday. I got off work and it was ice and my windshield had like a good, I don't know how thick the sheet of ice was on my windshield, but had to sit there and defrost back. And normally it takes me like an hour and 10 minutes to get home, but I didn't get home for like 2 hours. That's how bad it was in Missouri last night. It was ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
It's 68 here, so I'll take that.
It's 68.
68, man. Dude, it felt like the summer. I was driving over to the in-laws' house, windows down, felt amazing.
Yeah, it's 80 degrees here, so I don't know about that.
He's like, suck it. Whatever, y'all.
I was just going to say, I'm over here in LA, man. It's like 74, 75, like the perfect weather.
Nice. It's like 30. It's 30 in Missouri, man.
Sweet. I don't envy you.
So anyway, we'll get right into it. Let's start off with these intros. I'd like to introduce a good friend. Her name is Luca. She's one of the most popular people in this small gaming community. The Ashen Luca, otherwise known as Luca, joined the community in 2016 December. She called into MNC mornings, and people loved her free-spirited, no-nonsense attitude. Her first podcast was Ladies' Night with She-Wolf, and the rest is history. She's now a member of the popular RDX podcast every Tuesday, and she is the host of the Scumcast on her YouTube channel. The one, the only, Luca. What up?
Hey, what's up? Thank you so much for having me. Me and Salty Bro, we've been talking about this for a while, and I'm very happy that he's finally had me on. I got to get him on my show soon, so I'm looking forward to tonight, man. I think we're going to have a good time.
It's gonna be awesome. We got some good topics. I know we talked about it earlier about me getting on, but I was with my kid and she's acting crazy. So we'll get on there. We'll get on there real quick. So thanks for coming on again. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, bro, I got you.
Next up, the most irrelevant native ever. What is up?
Yeah, pretty much.
What's going on, man?
Oh man, nothing. Just enjoying my Sunday. Took the kids to the park earlier this morning just to get them some sun and see if we can calm my boy down. He had one of his meltdowns today, so that was fun. But no, it's been good, man. It's been really good. Just enjoying the gaming and everything this weekend. I stayed up too damn late these past 2 days, and it's been crazy. My schedule's been all over the place, but the games have been good. The conversations have been even better in these party chats, and just I'm looking forward to what we have going tonight. So let's go.
Awesome. All right, next up, Punk Kiddish. What is up, my friend?
Not too much, man. I'm with Irrelevant here. Been staying up way late last couple nights. They brought Prop Hunt back in Call of Duty. I was actually playing that all last night. Had a blast. That stuff just cracks me up. It never gets old. And it's just good to shoot the shit with your friends while playing that. But said staying up late. Woke up today. Clock said 11 on it. I was like, holy hell. So that was nice. Much needed sleep. I mean, we all need some of that every once in a while. And then big family day, man. Went over to Pop's house, made some homemade lasagna. That was amazing. Talked with the family a lot and got back here just in time to talk about these subjects, y'all.
Sweet. And last but not least, Nick, how's it going, buddy?
Oh man, you know how it goes. Just work, and work. Putting in that work. YouTube work, actually my job work, video game work. That's all it is. It's just work, man. And today I finally started on my office. I sent you guys that picture. I got the desk going. I'm excited about that. And other than that, just ready to get into these topics and about this gaming news.
Sweet. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into the first topic of the night. Monster Hunter World, the hit success from Capcom, has shipped 6 million units. That's 6 million. It's a crazy number when it comes to the Monster Hunter series. As you know, it's a new series for consoles. It was on the PlayStation back in the day with, I think it was PS2, but it's been a title that's been on the Nintendo system. Let's talk about, is Monster Hunter officially going to put the nail in the coffin of Destiny? Because I've seen a lot of the people that are YouTube creators and even gamers that love Destiny, that they're coming over to Monster Hunter and they're pretty much writing off Destiny in general. Let's start off with our guest tonight. Do you think Destiny 2 is officially dead? And do you think Monster Hunter World put that nail in the coffin?
Well, honestly, I don't think it would have taken much to put the nail in Destiny 2's coffin. They've been dying a slow, painful death for the last couple months. The devs are completely out of touch. It's bad, bro. It's pretty bad. Like I see a lot of people in Monster Hunter, but I don't necessarily link that to Destiny 2 dying. I think the game was dying all on its own, and it was just kind of like a new game came out. The game's hot. People are really enjoying it, so they play that over Destiny. I don't really see people playing Destiny anymore like I used to.
It's true. It's very sad to see the state of Bungie, because honestly, they were one of my favorite developers back in the day, and to see where they're at now, it's just kind of a sad thing. Monster Hunter World is kind of filling that need for me. It's kind of it's a looter game. It fills it checks all the boxes for me when it comes to that type of game, and that's what Destiny 1 did for me a couple of years ago. So it's kind of interesting to see. Punk, what do you think about this situation? Monster Hunter World's shipping 6 million, units, and is it killing Destiny?
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, a lot of us here, we were huge Destiny people, huge, like beyond. And to see what Monster Hunter they've came out, and Destiny just has nothing. So everyone's jumping over to Monster Hunter, seeing how good it is. People are having friends that have never played it, or some people that have never even heard of it. They're jumping on like, hey, man, you need to try this out. Like you did to me, I was like, man, like all you guys are playing. So I started playing. I'm not as a hardcore into this game as I was Destiny, just because it's different, I guess you could say. But it's definitely hurting Bungie. Bungie, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They're going to rerun Destiny 1 all over again. They're going to go through them, go through their dry periods, then try to come out with the Taken King expansion, which they've already talked about. Oh, we're gonna have Taken King expansion, and just hope to bring people back. But I just don't see that happening a second time, man.
It's true, man. I've talked to a lot of people when it comes to Destiny, and if you look at my hours played with the first Destiny, it's crazy. It's like 1,500 hours. I put too many hours in there. And it's like the beaten wife syndrome. Sorry to use that term if someone gets offended on that, but it's like you keep going back to something that is not good for you, you know. Bungie keeps reskinning, reusing stuff, and they keep doing stuff to their user base and acting like they're dumb, you know, like we're stupid people. And they keep doing it over and over, and when they get caught, they send out a weak ass apologies, and then they keep going and keep doing the same thing over and over. I don't know, man. I personally don't think that, you know, Destiny 2 is going to recover, just like you were talking about, because we see a pattern when it comes to Bungie. They put out half-assed content, and then they realize all their mistakes, and then they try to rectify them with some huge expansion. And that would be the next expansion coming out. But honestly, like when we have offerings like Monster Hunter World, there's no need to stick with one game like Destiny. Nick, that's where we met, is Destiny. How do you feel about this situation, bro?
I like this. I like this situation, man. I like the fact that this game is doing as well as it's doing. It's a fun game. It's a great game. And the thing about this game that I like so far is it hasn't run stale on me, because there's an incentive to actually go back and keep killing the monsters that you need to kill to get the armor and the weapons that you want, and perks and things like that. So, and so it's not like how it was in Destiny, where me and you were playing, and then our buddy gets in, and then all of a sudden, hey, you got to catch up to us because, you know, you're level 10, we're level 30, we're maxed out. You got to catch up because we're grinding to get the gear for you know, for the next stuff, for the trials, for the raid and stuff. It's not like that. If someone new is in, you want to go back and help that person out, because that benefits you getting the things that you need to get to make your armor. And so that's what I really, really do like about this game. I've had no problem helping somebody in the past, like who's behind me. Unlike Destiny, I was like, I don't really want to do that. That's a hassle. But the piggyback on what Lucas said, Destiny's just been dying for a while now. And a game the game that comes out like this has no microtransactions and anything like that. It's all packaged in the $60 price range. And Destiny's just it's over with, man. And it's unfortunate. Like you said, we've spent so much time with Destiny. We've put so many hours into Destiny 1. Destiny 2 came out, and we just kind of went through the motions. And after a while, we were just done with it. And then we kind of just sat there. We waited for PUBG and the Cuphead. And now we have this game. And it's just nice and refreshing to have a game like that to play again. And it's just great. I love the situation. Sorry to Bungie, but you know, they should have just listened to the fan base. They shouldn't have cut Destiny 2 to be so casual. And now they're trying to go back, like Punk said, and come out with this huge Taken King expansion and bring it back to its roots. But it's a little too late for that, in my opinion, anyway.
It's true. A little too late. Native, did you play Destiny? I can't remember whether or not you did play Destiny 2. I think you did. How do you feel about the situation?
Well, yeah, I did play Destiny 1, and I played a lot of Destiny 2. I started day one with Destiny 2. Destiny 1, it took me a little bit longer to get into, just because, I mean, I don't know. There's just something about it that didn't really resonate with me. So it took me a little bit longer to get into Destiny 1. And once I think I picked up the Dark Wool, I mean, what was it? The Dark Below and the House of Wolves expansions. Yeah. I picked up those two DLCs. And once they dropped the Taken King, they said, oh, here's another $30, $40. I can't remember how much it was. I just remember it was more money.
It was 40.
It was 40, right? Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm not picking that up. I'm done. I tapped out with that. Didn't play the Taken King. Didn't even give it a chance at all. So I left it there. Picked up Destiny 2 day one, and I hyped that game up a lot. I talked about it the first week that it was out. I recommended it to everybody that was in the first-person shooters, because I thought that what they did, the formulas, the the algorithms, the RNG process, everything. With those types of games, I do consider myself more of a casual, because I won't go nuts and grind the raid over and over and over again to get a chest piece. That's just not me. If I don't get it the first time, it's like, okay, fine. If I have buddies that are going to run that raid, then I'll run it with them. But other than that, I'm not going to get together I'm not going to put a group together and do it myself because
Yeah.
I don't care that much. But one thing, I don't think that Monster Hunter necessarily killed off Destiny 2 or single-handedly. I don't think that. I agree with what Luca and Nick were saying. It was just a dying brand. It is a dying brand, and they're going to drop a DLC or an expansion, and it's going to bring back a certain player base. But once everybody hits that cap, once everybody gets that, those items, and they figure out the god rolls and et cetera, it's going to be right back where it's at right now. That's all I predict with that. And same thing with Monster Hunter. Once Monster Hunter drops out, whatever they're going to drop out, players are going to run to that. So it's going to be this never-ending battle. But with Destiny 2, I do feel like a smaller percentage of the player base will be returning DLC after DLC, expansion after expansion. It'll just
keep dwindling
down. That's what I feel about it. That's really all that I can say. Except I do want to praise Monster Hunter on one thing, and that's I really enjoy the fact that they incentivized going back and doing it and doing, killing the monsters or capturing them for armor. And I think what Destiny 2 can learn from that is the crafting, because that gives you that feeling of I crafted this piece. You know what I mean? Yeah. Destiny doesn't really do that. It drops for you, and if it drops, it drops. Hey, I did the raid, I got that piece, that's it. There's no real personal gain from that. You don't really feel like you accomplished anything because you in the end did not craft that piece. That's what Monster Hunter got right.
Yeah, it comes down to rewarding players for the stuff that they do and the time that they put into the game, and that's where Monster Hunter gets it right. The surprising thing for me is the fact that it's a Capcom game. When I think of Capcom, I don't really... Okay, so we had Resident Evil 7 that came out in the beginning of 2017. That was a banger, and then now we have Monster Hunter World. So maybe they're turning it around. But there's a franchise that has, traditionally been on Xbox for a while as an exclusive, and that would be one of the franchises that is kind of dying out, in my opinion, Dead Rising. Have you guys, dabbled in that franchise?
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's not a happy yes. It's just a yes.
Yeah. The dev team that works on that game is it's having layoffs, and it's surprising to me because of the success that Capcom is experiencing at this time. It's interesting. Do you guys think that this franchise Dead Rising needs to go the way of the pastures and kind of die off? Because the market's pretty saturated when it comes to zombie-based games. We have new games coming out exclusively for the PlayStation 4, and we have one for the Xbox One. What's your guys' take?
Man, I think, I agree with you that that genre is just way oversaturated. And the thing about, Dead Rising was, 1 was a big hit. It was kind of a unique game at the time. 2 came out and it kind of expanded on that. And then 3 was just kind of meh. I mean, it came out with the release of the Xbox One. But it didn't really hit well. And I know that they came out with the Dead 4 Rising beta because I remember our friend Roger was talking about it, but I haven't heard anything other than that about the new game. And I don't think it's going to do very well. And I think that's where the layoffs are coming from, is that they think that this game and this franchise has to be put on the back burner. It has to be. And they're probably just going to sit there and wait on it. And I think that's the best decision for them, would be to just put it on the back burner and wait on it. Because as you said, the zombie genre, that's just oversaturated. We're getting game after game after game. And that's part of the reason why I never really got into the Dead Rising series anyway. So, yeah, I think with that news they're making layoffs, I think it's necessary. Even though Capcom's doing well, they still got to cut that fat off and pretty much, make sure they're profitable everywhere. And they can't just have, a dev team that's taking up money, taking up profit. They're going to go ahead and just let them loose.
It's true, man. Native, have you played Dead Rising? If so, do you think it's time for this franchise to go away?
Oh hell yeah, I played Dead Rising. Dead Rising 1 anyway. Number 2 and number 3, and whatever else they put out, all that expansion, super mega ultra edition. I mean, I remember they came out with that one. That was funny, but I never played any of them. I said earlier, I want them to continue making it so that I can continue not playing them. because you know it's still a new game. It's still games for people to play. There is a corner of the market that likes those type of games, that likes the where you craft your own crazy weapons. You like doing silly things, taking silly selfies with zombies everywhere. People still like that stuff, so continue making it if you can make money from it, but don't expect people to clamor for it. You know, it's don't expect people to clamor for it. It was a fun game. The first game, it was fun. It was neat. It was new. I mean, seeing that many zombies on the screen was just insane. You know, looking over the mall awning and everything, and you're just looking down at the bottom, the first floor of the mall, and you just see all of those zombies everywhere jumping up on top of their heads. It was fun, but there's a lot of zombie games out there, and there's a lot of just, you know, supernatural shooters and all this, and just do something new. If you're going to come out with the Dead Rising, do something new.
Yeah, it's true. Hey, Luca, how do you feel about the zombie genre? Do you think it's oversaturated at this point, or?
I do think it's oversaturated. I don't like zombie games or movies or anything like that. However, I don't necessarily think that the game needs to die or anything like that, or that they should just cut them loose. I think the game needs to be revamped. I think it needs to be revitalized. I don't think any franchise should die. I don't think that's good for gaming overall. You know, I think there's always something that they can do to make it better. It's just the direction they're going in now. It's not working. People are not interested in what they're doing. And if they're going to get rid of it, then okay. But I would say they should do something to change it up. You know, look at the new God of War. That's completely different from the older games. And it might be amazing. It might be something good. Look at Resident Evil 7. Completely different from the older games, just with that first person point of view. Like, I think they should just revamp it and change it up and come up with new ideas and new concepts to make it more interesting, because the way you can craft weapons and all the enemies on the screen, that's cool. That's a cool concept there. But I think they do need to add something to it, because people are fatigued with the series. People are not super into the series. But I do know some people like Colt who really love the game. You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah, I mean, in this day and age with video games, with how, you know, progressive the market is and how saturated some of these genres are, you do have to take risks when it comes to changing up the game. It's a topic that's been discussed for many of these franchises that keep coming out with iterations of their game, you know, like the Halos or the Gears of War, and what they could potentially do to change the game. Because let's be honest, we don't want to continue to buy a game and play the same mechanics and the same things over and over. It gets stale. So that's why they need to change things. And I appreciate your opinion on that, because it makes sense. I think that, you know, if they go back to the drawing board and you know, implement some changes, it could, you know, get back to where it was when it first came out. Punk, what do you think about this situation? Do you think the zombie genre's, you know, saturated? How do you feel about this?
I mean, it's definitely, there's nothing we can really do about that. Everything has this hardcore fan base, so anytime, like, we all have our games that we love, and then when they fall off, we get upset, you know. So I wouldn't want it to die. That's kind of terrible. I am a big believer in revamping it. I mean, it really seems like the only thing they're doing is, how much goofier can I make this game?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Everything else is the same. And like I said, I actually wound up buying it when the Xbox One came out. And remember, they added so many more zombies. But then when you played it, your system couldn't even handle it. And so you're sitting there thinking, man, I got this new Xbox One at the time. Man, it's going to be more powerful. It's going to be sweet. And it was so laggy and terrible.
Yeah, like, I remember that.
I couldn't finish it. I was like, man, I had to trade that thing in ASAP. And I'm glad back then I didn't buy that thing digitally, because it was such a waste of money. But I was so hyped for it when it came out. Like I said, I don't want anything to die, like Luca said. Everything has its fan base, but if they revamped it, it could do something. But, you know, you have, what's that, PlayStation Days Gone coming out. Yeah, and we got State of Decay. I mean, those would look better and have more stuff to do in it already. I mean that would go a long way just by being different. They said Dead Rising, it's just played out, been there, done that, and basically every game has essentially just been the same game, in my opinion.
It's true, man. I stood in line at Best Buy in the rain, and I that was one of the first titles I picked up. Was, what is it, Dead Rising 3?
Yeah, man.
I didn't play that game that long before I traded it in, and it was a shame. But like, I do see what you're saying. Like, they're advertising the amount of zombies that were going to be on the screen, and it just could not handle it, man. I mean,
I think that's what had everybody pumped. You're like, oh shit, man, this new system is going to be sweet, and you're like, this is terrible. I would have just leave all the extra zombies out and just had it play smoother.
Exactly, dude. So hopefully they can get it together. I know that some other development teams have reached out to these people that lost their jobs, and that's good in the industry. You never want to see people lose their jobs, and hopefully they can get back on their feet as soon as possible. But it's interesting, like I said, Capcom is seeing so much success. Like it seems like, you know, Resident Evil 7 banger, you know, Monster Hunter World banger. These are like at the beginning of the year. They're dropping these bangers, and then you see this title, you know, Dead Rising, and I guess they're just trying to cut the fat, I guess. So we'll see what happens with that franchise going forward. But moving on to the next topic, did you guys hear that the PS4 Pro got a tech upgrade? Apparently, it's going to get a tech upgrade, excuse me. So they're going to be getting super sampling, and if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically they're going to be taking an image that's of higher quality and they compress it down for 1080p TVs, so the HD TVs. This wasn't an option with the PlayStation 4 Pro, and it's been around for a while now, but the Xbox One X, when it came out of the gate, it had super sampling just in the box. It did it automatically. Did you guys hear about this news, and what do you think about it? Native, what do you think about this?
Good for them. You know, anytime a console gets an upgrade, anytime a console has something that they can add to it, something that can, you know, beef up the system itself, or beef up a single game, or, you know, like with the introduction of VR and stuff like that, just anything that enhances an experience for a gamer, I'm all for, whether it's on the console that I prefer or not. Either way, it's good for gaming. So the fact that it's happening, you know, good for them. And if Xbox already had it, then, you know, awesome. But other than that, all it's going to do is just push. I mean, the next step is for the Switch to upgrade their stuff. If they can, then great.
Correct.
Yeah. So Nick,
what's
Nick, did you hear about the super sampling stuff on the Pro? Because the situation with the Pro is basically it came out a year before the X, right? We know this.
Right.
It's, you know, pretty underpowered when it comes to comparisons with the X when you're comparing it. So unfortunately, so you have the option to do super sampling, but it's going to degrade some other parts and aspects of the quality of the picture. That's the unfortunate side of things. Super sampling is awesome because I personally have the Xbox One X, and it does super sampling on my TV that I have right now because I don't have a 4K TV. I do see the difference when it comes to the games that I play, but the thing that's different with the Xbox One X is it has the ability to do the upgraded textures, you know, all these other things, the bells and whistles that you won't see on the PlayStation 4 Pro. I think it's a good thing that they're getting this out, but it's like, you know, way late. It's like a year plus late, and it's just interesting that it took so long to drop on the PlayStation 4 Pro. Hearing all this information, is it gonna, you know, propel you to go buy a PlayStation 4 Pro, or would you just wait for the next iteration? That's what I want to know.
If I had some extra cash laying around, I would still get a PS4 Pro, even if this wasn't coming to the PS4. I would love to have a PlayStation 4, but that's just not in the cards right now. And so what I find funny about this news is we had the Xbox One X come out. People were saying, well, you know, graphics don't matter. You know, the narrative switched from graphics that do matter to now it's all about games. And then all of a sudden, you know, now they're making this change to the PlayStation to make sure that their console at least not competitive, but at least the graphics will at least look better for their consumers. So, you know, what is it? You know what I mean? So that's what I just find funny about it, is just the whole narrative, how the narrative keeps changing. To power, Xbox comes out, now all of a sudden it's games, it's all games and that, and then all of a sudden this comes back out. I bet you the narrative goes back to, well, graphics matter. And that's what I find funny about this. And as Native said, any options that you have as any consumer, whether that's Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, is good. So this news doesn't make me want to go get a PlayStation per se, because I already want a PlayStation. It's just not in the cards for me right now to purchase one, but it's still a good option if you own a PlayStation or whatever. So good on Sony for making this change. It's a necessary change, I believe, because the Xbox One X came out, and when you see them in comparison, it's apples and oranges. It's a different comparison. So good on them to make this effort, but we'll see how well it works out.
Yeah. So Luca, I know you have an Xbox One X, right? Do you have a Pro right now, or?
No, I have a PlayStation 4 though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the super sampling on the PlayStation 4 Pro? Like, is it gonna, have you go out and buy a PlayStation 4 Pro, or?
That's cool and all, but that's not enough for me to upgrade to a Pro, to be perfectly honest. I'm probably just going to wait for the PlayStation 5. I need like a bigger update than that for that system. You know what I mean? My X does everything that I needed to do, and the PlayStation games that I have been playing don't really benefit from any updates like that. Like, I just beat Persona 5. That's a turn-based RPG. So I just don't have any interest.
So are you already upgraded to the 4K televisions, or are you still with the HD?
Yeah, I have a 4K HDR TV.
Nice. See, that's the thing. Like, when I ask people, it's cool to get that gauge of like people that are playing on the X or the PlayStation 4 Pro, and like what kind of television they have, because it'd be weird personally to get a PlayStation 4 Pro and then you play it on, before this update came out, it'd be weird to play it on an HD television, because you wouldn't see the super sampling, you wouldn't see the textures, you wouldn't see any of that. So in this respect, I think that it's a good move by PlayStation, because they're keeping up with the Joneses, per se. The direct competition for the PlayStation 4 Pro is the Xbox One X. So if you can get another feature on there and check that box, then people are going to go and compare the two. And the price differentials there, you can say, hey, we have super sampling, we have this and that, and then it closes that gap. Because not a lot of people are going to understand the ins and outs of what else the Xbox One X does when it comes to the textures and everything else. So I think it's a good move on PlayStation. When it comes to me, I'm thinking about buying a PlayStation because I don't have one at this point. But me personally, I would opt for the base PlayStation, a slim model, because it'd be cheaper, because the PlayStation 4 Pro doesn't offer enough power for me to justify the purchase, even with the super sampling, because eventually I'm going to upgrade to a 4K television. But I would just personally stick with that slim, and then when the PlayStation 5 comes out, I'll buy that, right? So that's just how I feel about the situation. Punk, how do you feel about this? I know do you have the Pro? I know you have a PlayStation.
No, I still have the regular 500 gigabyte system myself. But
oh, really?
No, I said better late than never. Anything's good to make your game better. I mean, I'm all for that. I was actually just kind of looking like at GameStop and stuff, and see what offers you can get for trading stuff in. But at the same time, I'm not playing it enough, to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
the game I'll be buying is God of War, so I'm not gonna go break the bank, I guess. And like, even if I traded mine in, I'd just have to go probably pay what 250, 280. Just do it. But I'm not gonna get anything from that. So I'll just stick with my PlayStation, and like Luca, I'll wait till PlayStation 5. But it's good to see that it's there, man. I mean, like I said, better late than never. So it is what it is.
It's true. So props to PlayStation for getting this feature out. I think it will help move those consoles, because the 4K market right now, when it comes to televisions, isn't, it's not as high as it will be, a year or two down the line. So if you get more options and features to get out, that's never a bad thing, right? So Absolutely. You'll get more customers that will buy the Pro, and they'll upgrade. So, because eventually they're going to, phase out the PlayStation 4 regular and slim models, then that Pro will be the main system. The 5 will come out, so this option definitely allows people to say, hey, I can buy a PlayStation 4 Pro. It will super sample the image for me. Even if I have an HD television, it gives me a reason to buy the product. So that's a good thing. So anyway, in other news, Fortnite, the popular game that's a competitor to PUBG, is going to be adding a 60 frames per second mode. This is an interesting topic for sure, because if you guys remember back when PUBG was, going to be coming out, I actually did a video about this, and then I got some other people making, an exposed video on me because I said that PUBG was going to be 60 frames per second, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of backlash when it came to this game coming out on 60 FPS on the X, and then let's say the standard Xbox being at 30. So there's this parity situation, the narrative of, hey, if one console is going to be 60, you can't have the other one at 30. So there's the parity narrative, and there was outrage and outcry on social media because this was going to happen on PUBG. But when I heard this news about Fortnite, I haven't heard shit. I haven't heard anybody say, oh, there's going to be an option to turn up the frame rate on one console and you'll have it on another, 30 on the other. Did everybody just stop caring, or what's the situation going on here? Luca, what's your thoughts on this?
It seems pretty simple to me. PUBG was a high-profile game that was exclusive to Xbox. And yeah, people just expressed concerns, and I'm using quotation marks here because, it's just the fanboy stuff, man. Let me tell you something I saw, right? I saw someone post, oh, I can't believe PUBG is going to do 60 to 30 frame parity. Like, what are they doing? Microsoft is really against the consumer. What's wrong with them? Blah, blah, blah. And then when the news came out that the game was not going to be running at 60, not even 24 hours later, the same person was like, ha, the X can't even do 60 on PUBG. Look at that trash system. What's the point of upgrading? And I'm like, that's interesting. Very, very interesting to see. Yeah, it's like stuff like that just makes me extremely skeptical of people. And the fact that no one is saying anything about this is it's very clear to me what this is. People said something about PUBG because it was on Xbox and exclusively on Xbox. That's really what it comes down to.
I mean, it couldn't be any clearer, right? When it comes to a narrative such as this, I mean, the games, if you look at the Fortnite's popularity on the popular sites like Twitch and Mixer, it's clear this game is just as popular as PUBG. It's going to actually surpass PUBG when it comes to popularity, okay? It's a free-to-play game. It's on both systems, but the differentiation here is that Xbox was receiving PUBG, and then that's where all this outcry came from. So, Native, let me hear your thoughts on this. Where did this parody narrative go? It seemed to have crawled under a rock and disappeared.
You know what? I honestly hope that the whole narrative thing stays under that rock and dies from starvation, so people don't.
Could not agree more.
Because it's so stupid. I mean, if you're a part of that narrative or if you're pushing the narrative, either way, I don't consider you relevant in terms of what your opinion may be. I won't listen to it. I mean, Fortnite is a great game. It's got a different formula. You have the building aspect. That's great. That's cool. I don't like the cartoony stuff. That's just me. I stick with PUBG because I like the realism, and I like that it's hard to. It's a little bit more difficult, so it's much slower pace, I believe. So, I mean, I stick with the PUBG. But as far as the parity goes, and 30 frames and 60 frames, who cares? I don't care. I really don't care. Just play the games that you want to play, and if you don't like this one, then don't play it. If you have something to say about it, that's like that damn Bambi movie. What's his name? That little rabbit thing. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. That's
Thumper.
Just how I feel about it. Well, what'd you say?
I said Thumper.
Thumper.
There you go.
Exactly, man. It's all I'm gonna post on Twitter now. It's just under people's crap. I'm just gonna put Thumper. That's it.
Hey. Luca's talking about Tide Pods in the chat. Got me dying here, dude.
Listen. Lord Kaibatsu is like, oh, they're trying to work to make them look less edible and appealing. I'm like, no, let these people eat them, okay? Okay, Darwinism.
We eat it out.
You know, like what the fuck?
Yeah,
I wouldn't want.
Let the smartest survive. Just let them kill themselves off because they're not. They don't deserve it.
Yeah, no, it really is. I don't want a full Darwinistic society because that would be insane. But we're the only species that helps the poor, that helps the weak. It's like you gotta let nature take its course, man. If you got a lion that just insists on eating itself and eating its damn paw or whatever, let him do it. He's gonna die. Otherwise, don't let it breed. If you got somebody eating
the only thing that I point out here is this is what we're dealing with in society, right? When you get these dumbasses posting weird shit and comments on social media, these are the people eating Tide Pods or doing the hot iron challenge, like that I saw, where they're burning 3rd-degree burns into their arms. Like this is the kind of mentality that we're dealing with here. So when you come with a parody narrative, I think a lot of those people, I'm not dogging on you. If you think that that's your thing, then that's fine. But it's just certain things that don't make sense. Yeah. So anyway, Nick, what's your thought process on the parody situation?
Oh man, like Native, I agree with Luca and Native. Luca says she finds it funny, you know, that nobody's talking about this, you know, clearly because Fortnite's on both Sony and Xbox, and you know, Native says I would wish that this narrative would die, and I 100% agree. Because really, what it comes down to is, like Lucas said, it comes down to people being fanboys and waving your flag for whatever side you want to wave your flag for. And honestly, I feel like that narrative has run its course. I can't stand it. It's on my nerves. If you like something, you like it. Don't dog on other people for not liking it. And like you said, it's clear as day that the reason why this narrative or this news isn't bigger, we're not seeing it on Twitter or nobody's arguing about it, is because it's on both systems, and both systems are now getting fair treatment, I guess you could put in quotations, about this game. And as far as, you know, this news for the game, good for Fortnite. I'm not going to play it that, you know, very often, but good on them to have, you know, 60 frames per second. But this narrative, man, it's got to die, because quite frankly, I'm sick of it. Like, if you're mad that you don't have 60 frames or 4K, then go get an Xbox and stop complaining about it. If you want it that much, go get it. It's an option. But if you're going to continue to be a fanboy, you know, and just be mad and sit in your room and grovel, oh, I don't have 4K, fuck Xbox. Like, if you're going to be like that, dude, get out of my face. I don't want to hear that. I'm over it.
So Punk.
Wow. Parody, man. I'm tired of hearing it. We all are. It's great that they're doing this. You know, like I said, now that's on both systems, nothing to be said. I just can't wait for the next Xbox 2, PS5. Can't wait for those to come out so this can be a thing in the past. But even then, who knows? We all know it's just going to be something else.
It's never going to be.
It's going to be something else. You know,
it's always going to be there.
You know, so God only knows what we're going to be throwing out by the time that time's here. You know, but that parody sucks. It sucks.
It's true, man. So hopefully everybody can remember this situation when it comes up again, because for sure it will come up again in the future. But let's just remember how little it was talked about when this news broke out for Fortnite and such. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. So Shadow of the Colossus came out on the PlayStation. Did anybody happen to pick that up? I'm talking to the chat and the panel. Did you guys happen to pick that up?
Nah.
No.
No, I'm not interested.
So
I'm waiting for God of War.
this will be a short topic, because we're not going to actually discuss Shadow of the Colossus. The thing that I want to talk about is the fact that so one of our buddies in the community, he did a video and he talked about how he prefers remasters and remakes over backwards compatibility, and he's getting all kinds of shit and backlash from his video. The thing that I want to talk to you guys about and ask is, are these things even on the same page? Because first of all, when it's a remaster or a remake, they're going into the game and putting time and effort and resources into, you know, rebuilding the game, you know, sometimes from the ground up with new mechanics, and you pay for that, right? For new graphics, new mechanics, like the new Dark Souls, Luca, that's going to be coming out, the remaster of the first game, that's going to be on a new engine. Basically, it's going to be on the Dark Souls 3 engine and stuff like that. It's going to feel like a different game. So people are going to pay more for that, and
those 60 frames are going to be so hot.
Yeah, like if you compare the two, going back, you go back to Dark Souls 1, they're almost two different games by that time, right?
Yeah, if you
They
think
have
about how the frames drop to like 15 in Blighttown, then it's just kind of like,
yeah.
yeah.
I hated going in that area, dude.
I went through the back, bro.
I felt like my console was gonna crash every time I went through there, dude. You know. So the thing that I asked about this are they even the same at this point? I don't think personally that they're comparable, because when you're talking about, you know, remakes and remasters compared to backwards compatibility, the only, you know, the difference is a huge difference. Backwards compatibility, you know, that is something that's free. They're not doing anything to it. You know, Xbox has backwards compatibility. You know, PlayStation doesn't at this point. That's why I bring this up, because, you know, that person was saying that he prefers remakes and remasters over backwards compatibility. But yeah, I mean, I think it's tomato. They're two different things, in my opinion. Let's get your take on that. Native, what do you think about the situation?
Honestly, I really don't have much to say on it. I really don't. I'm sorry, man. I really haven't even thought about it that much. It's not something that I've subscribed to, I guess, mentally. But I mean, hey, man, all I can say is whatever's good for gaming in these situations, whatever's gonna help push out a console, whatever's gonna help a dev out, or whatever it may be, whatever's gonna produce something positive for the community, I'm all for it. I mean, really, there's nothing more that I could say.
Okay, Nick, what do you think, man?
Man, I mean, the whole subject of like Native said, I don't really care too much. The only thing is, like, yeah, if you want to get the remaster because it's better, and like Lucas said, she's looking forward to playing Dark Souls because it's going to be in 60 frames, and you guys remember playing it on, you know, Xbox, and it barely ran. The first one did, and it was really buggy and laggy. Now they're fixing everything about that, and it's going to be in 60 frames. You know, for things like that, yeah, this is necessary. The only things that like bother me are these remasters that have where games come out, it's been maybe 2 years later and they remastered it. Like, why did that remaster need to happen for a game that came out 2 years ago? That's the only thing that bothers me. But for classics like you guys are talking about, yeah, I think that's very necessary. And I think it's a good idea. Now, like you said, as far as backwards compatibility, it's free. If you want to go back and play it, you can. But it doesn't bother me, you know, either way. I understand why remasters are made. Like I said, the only thing that bothers me is if they have a game remastered after 2 years. Like, why is that even thought of, and why is it even a thing? That made no sense. Like, I remember Tomb Raider came out on the Xbox 360, and then when the Xbox One came out, they went ahead and put out the definitive edition remastered. Like, why did that need to happen? But I mean, I understand they want to make their money and people will probably pay for it. But that's the only thing that really aches me about the remasters. But if it's necessary, it's great. If not, leave it alone. And if you don't like it, you have backwards compatibility.
It's true. See, the thing is, the thing that I'm touching upon here is this is a fanboy narrative. That's why the person that did the video got the backlash, is because you know, Xbox has backwards compatibility and PlayStation doesn't. That's why this is a topic. You know, the remakes are better or the remasters are better. It's not one or another. It's both. You can have both, but unfortunately, it's not that way on both systems because of the way that they approach things with the, you know, the things that they do. Backwards compatibility isn't available right now on PlayStation 4, and that's the situation. Hopefully with the PlayStation 5, backwards compatibility will be a thing, so this won't even be a narrative that people can bring up. But personally, I think that, you know, remakes and remasters are good as long as they're done right. The thing is a lot of the times they just get pushed out and there's very little changes and they try to charge you for more money. So it just keeps, you know, milking, you know, that situation in that title for more money. That's the issue.
As far as that narrative like the narrative thing goes, like I find it odd. I don't get why Sony has this big hoo-ha about not having games and preview on their console, or not having backwards compatibility. It just somehow that just rubs me the wrong way. And like, why wouldn't you give your consumers the options of that? You know, there wouldn't be this narrative if they were able to have PUBG soon, but they don't take early preview games and they don't take early access games, and they don't have backwards compatibility. So you literally, if you want to play a PlayStation 3 game, you gotta get a PlayStation 3. That's just weird to me. I don't understand it. And I think that Xbox did the right thing by bringing that to the Xbox One. I remember it wasn't there at first, and then they decided to implement it. And I thought that was a great, a really good feature that they put in, and people were actually asking for. And you know that Sony fans are asking for backwards compatibility, but they're just not going to get it. And if Sony did have backwards compatibility, I would be more likely to push myself and get a PlayStation. But for now, it's just like, there's no real reason for me to go out and get one at the moment. I plan on getting one, but there's no real push for it. But like, I just find that odd. Like, why is Sony against these things? It's just mind blowing to me and baffling to me. And like, I don't see why the consumer would just let that happen without any hoopla. They just seem to follow, like sheep. They just follow the trend of Sony.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think that they're against it. I think they can't, at least for the PlayStation 3 games. Because, I'm not a huge tech person or anything, but that architecture they use for the PlayStation 3, wouldn't it make it hard for them to emulate those games? I mean, I don't actually know. Definitely it's not going to be like the same where you can just pop in a disc and it works. I mean, they can't even change, let you change your names on their systems. You know what I mean? So whatever it is that they did, I don't think they're against it, but I think they can't do it, and they're trying to work on some way to get it to work.
Exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, and people forget what kind of companies these are. You look at Sony; that's an entertainment company. Microsoft got their start building PCs. Software, they're a software company, so they have a higher. They have more of a background in coding. So when they came out with their consoles, they're saying, "Let's code it this way, so that way we can re-emulate it later on." They're looking at that long road. Sony comes out, they make a console, it's the box, that's what it is. It's going to play the games that you make for that box. They didn't have that same knowledge that Microsoft had where, hey, let's use this type of coding, that way we can emulate later. So people forget about that. I mean, it's not so much as they're just choosing, screw our fan base, screw our consumers. No, it's simply, shit, we made a misstep.
Yeah, but you also gotta realize that they have PlayStation Now, and they're fully invested in that situation. Exactly. So it's not simple. It's not an easy thing to say, hey, we can just implement backwards compatibility. And there's even been people, the higher ups, the executives that have talked about backwards compatibility in a negative light. So the thing.
Say things like it's not easy because there's licensing, there's music licensing, there's credit licensing. I mean, all sorts of things. People expect more money because it's like, hey, I helped build the lighting in this game. Contact me, or they that option is there. It's just certain things like that. There's a lot of liability when it comes to reviving a game from a past console. Like going back to OG Xbox. That to me is insane. That blew my mind only because those things are damn old.
Right.
So, I mean, that licensing, that the gymnastics for licensing and reviving those things has got to be insane.
Well,
so kudos to them.
I will say this. Thanks for setting the record straight, because that's something I did not know, as far as, it could be something as simple as a coding thing and maybe they messed up. So thanks for setting the record straight on that one. I do appreciate that. So,
Punk, do you have anything to say on the topic? Like, do you think they're different things, or they should be compared?
No, I think they're totally different. Like I said, backwards compatibility is something old. You're going to go back and play it. I mean, for digitally, you're going to spend $10, or if you already have the game. I mean, even now, with Xbox, you can only play certain games. Am I correct? Like they only have the certain ones you're able to play. But then the remakes and remasters, I mean, I think they're cool. I mean, I bought The Last of Us remastered, because I didn't get to finish it on the PS3, and that was sweet, and then they did God of War, that was sweet. So, I mean, they have their place in the community. I mean, I guess it's all whatever you're for,
Yeah, I definitely think it is a fanboy kind of argument, because if you think about it, it's kind of like BioShock got a remaster, and a bunch of other games have gotten remastered. Dark Souls is getting this remaster. I haven't heard any backlash about it, so...
The Gears of War remaster for the first one.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't see what the issue is exactly. I like backwards compatibility. I went back and I played the Dead Space series, which was an amazing experience for me. I like remakes and I like remasters. It's all options for the consumer and it's all great. Anyone who complains about that is just kind of weird to me, I guess you could say, because it's kind of like if it's not for you, then cool, it's not for you, but it could be for someone else.
Yeah, you can use the word
exactly. Exactly, man. Like
the reason why I brought it up is I just didn't understand why this individual that made this video got so much backlash for it, you know, like it's an opinion. I prefer remakes, remasters over backwards compatibility. Oh, you do, you know, and he gets this like huge blowback. It's crazy, man. So anyway, it's a thing that is an interesting topic, but you know, I think the choice is clear. It's just they're two different things, and you know, if you have an issue with it, you might have to check what's going on. So anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the biggest games of this year, is going to be coming out this October. And rip to all the games that are coming out in that month, but it's been rumored. It's been rumored that there's going to be a battle royale mode. Is this going to be the PUBG Killa? And I also want to ask you guys, how will this work? So in PUBG, you got a plane you fly out of, right? And people get tossed out. In Fortnite, there's a blimp. Like, how would this work with a Red Dead Redemption? Let's start with Luca. How do you feel about this situation? Do you think it's necessary or it's kind of, you know, whatever?
Well, I think, you know, Rockstar is trying to capitalize on that money. They're like, well, we're already rich. Let's just try and make more money by putting this mode in. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't know how they would do it, to be perfectly honest. I'm sure they'll be able to figure something out if this is true, if this is a mode that they're putting in. They like print money, so you know. I just think it's a trend that the industry is going to take just because they see PUBG sold 30 million. They're just going to be like, we want some of that money. So I'm not surprised to see it, you know?
Do you think it's going to be the PUBG Killa, though?
I mean, I feel like anything could kill PUBG. You know, I hope something kills PUBG. There's absolutely no reason why that game should have sold as much as it did and should be doing as well as it is. It's an unoptimized mess. What? I'm sorry. Rubber banding. How many frames does it hit? Oh, okay. They had, like I said, they sold 30+ million, right? How much money do they have? There's absolutely no reason why this game should be running the way it's running still. How many maps are on PC? 2? Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't. Okay, whatever. I hope a new game comes out and I hope it does better than PUBG because that game deserves to be destroyed.
Like, what I'm more surprised is, it's rumored to come out on Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm surprised they haven't done it on Grand Theft Auto. Like, I'm surprised they haven't came out with a, you know, battle royale for Grand Theft Auto. Like, I think that would have been perfect for them to come out with something like that. As far as the news of it coming out for Red Dead Redemption 2, as long as it doesn't interfere with the main story and the main campaign, I'm fine with whatever. Because, you know, that multiplayer people still play Dead Redemption's multiplayer like to this day. So, you know, people are still going to play it. So if they had a battle royale mode, I think it'll just add to the longevity of the game. So we'll just have to see. But like I said, I'm surprised this idea wasn't made for Grand Theft Auto sooner.
Honestly, with the Grand Theft Auto situation, if you're Rockstar, if you're looking at bringing this mode to Red Dead, it wouldn't make sense to do it with GTA because it's kind of been out there for a while. They probably would want to save this up as this kind of announcement. Hey, you know, we're bringing this mode. It's gonna be dope. We're gonna be jumping out of who knows what to throw you out of horse, you know, on your horse. And,
no, there's gonna be a train run down the middle of the map, and you all get thrown out in random places. Good luck. That's how that's gonna work.
Yeah, but the way that they optimize their game and how well it's done, I would be fully on board with this situation. Honestly, you know, all jokes aside about where you would be parachuting out or what if you would, I know for a fact that the game would run smoothly. It would be optimized. The frame rate would be locked. You know, like the gunplay would be good. All that stuff would be really good. So yeah, I believe it would be the PUBG Killa. you know, if you want to call it that. And plus, there's been rumors that Battlefield, the new one's going to have a battle royale mode. So it's only a matter of time before this genre is just saturated to the point where a game like PUBG that's not optimized and not running well and doesn't look good is kind of phased out. You know what I'm saying? True. So, Punk, how do you feel about the situation?
Dude, Battle Royale, I mean, it's the hotness, but freaking Red Dead is what, 7 months away? I mean, who even knows what PUBG is going to be doing in 7 months? I mean, I know Luca's talking about they haven't done anything, but I mean, anything's possible. I mean, that's all I can think about. I mean, what's possible in 7 months? I mean, is Battle Royale even going to be the hotness then? I mean, that game's going to sell, so people are going to play that regardless, but it could be some other freaking flashy game mode that's going to come out in 7 months, dude. It's just too far away to tell, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I hear the argument that Bluehole should get their shit together and should have more, you know, put more money into their game. And I definitely agree with it because, like, if you look at the numbers that it's pulling, there's no excuse that they couldn't hire more people and get this game optimized faster. But it is what it is. It's in the preview program and it's super popular because there's nothing like it right now when it comes to. So there's Fortnite and there's PUBG. And I think that those two games it's the same type of game, but it's not the same type of game, if that makes sense, because I'm really big into shooters. I always have been. I cannot play Fortnite. It feels corny to me. It feels clunky. You can't aim down sights. You can build on the fly. You see these people building structures and dropping down and doing a 360 no scope to win the game. That kind of shit just doesn't, you know, pull me in. But when it comes to PUBG, the reason why I gravitate towards it, yeah, it looks like shit. Yeah, it runs like shit, but there's not a game out there like it. So if you had a Battlefield out there, you had a Red Dead out there it's doing what I like about the game, like kind of like more towards the realistic nature of, you know, gunplay and the FPS genre, then yeah, I would move away from the game. But at this point, there's not competition that allows that to happen, if that makes sense. So it's interesting to see and talk about, you know, if this is going to happen or if it's not. I personally think it's going to happen because where there's smoke, there's fire. This game is going to be huge, and I don't see why they couldn't implement it, you know, and we'll see. So does anybody else have anything to say about that before we move on?
I just wanted to add one thing. It's Fortnite, PUBG, and the culling. But the culling.
Isn't the culling dead though?
Is anybody playing
it's dead as hell, dude.
Yeah,
I just want to throw it out there.
That was something
that came out.
Nobody's playing that.
No. Man, I mean, yeah, like you said, PUBG runs like crap. It looks like crap at times. But on the OG Xbox, I hardly rubber band anymore. I crashed once within the past month, maybe. I mean, since the second update, it's getting better. It's progressing slowly, but relatively quickly. I mean, I don't know how many updates they've had already since it launched, but it's a lot more than a lot of AAA games get in a month span. So that's something that I'm looking at.
Yeah, but if you look at the textures for that game, you were saying they look like Conker's Bad Fur Day, right? When we're in the party.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Conker's Bad Fur Day, Phil. Just that old, you know, it's kind of what it looks like I'm playing as far as, you know, PUBG goes. And Fortnite's a whole other thing on its own. I mean, if you like the cartoony feel, that's totally fine. I don't. I'm not privy to it. I'll stick with PUBG. And see where it goes. As far as DayZ goes, I mean, I don't know.
Let's talk about DayZ real quick because that's the topic. I want to talk about DayZ and then we'll get on the final topic of the night and then we'll get going here. So DayZ, the developers came out and said that their game is going to be coming out this year on the Xbox One. Like Chris Cobra Elite was talking about, DayZ was cool like 5 or 6 years ago. It's true. This game has been in development hell. It's talk about poorly optimized and a shitty ass game, dude. DayZ has been under development for 5 years, I guess. It was announced that it was coming to Xbox preview program like 3 or 4 years ago. And then finally, these developers come out and say, "Hey, we're getting DayZ out, guys. Get hyped!" And no one could give a shit less about it, right? So I just wanted to get you guys, I want to get your guys' take on this. At this point, should DayZ just say, "Hey, we're not coming to the preview program"? This is gonna be quick. I know you guys don't give a shit about this topic. But,
I mean, why? But yeah. I think there will be some interest on. In the preview program, I think they'll get some interest in some spark of interest. But like he said, it was popular like 4 or 5 years ago, but now I'm not interested at all. But I could see some people being interested in it. But just me personally, no way. It was cool 5 years ago, but other than that, we've moved on.
Yeah, honestly, when I heard
go ahead.
Honestly, when I heard the announcement like 3 or 4 years ago, don't quote me on that it was coming to preview. That's when the peak of the popularity of that game was going, and I was super hyped about it. But it's like, damn, guys, what have you been doing? What have you been doing with your lives? What were you saying, Native?
I was gonna say I'm not gonna front. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it because that's just me. I'm gonna play something that looks like I might like. It's got zombies in it. It's got a PUBG feel. I'm going to play it. I'm not even going to lie. I know that I'm going to play it. I know that I'm going to want it when it comes out because that's the kind of gamer that I am. It's just I need to try it. If I don't like it, then, hey, I'll regret my purchase. But other than that, it's totally fine. I wouldn't ever tell anybody, don't bring that game to my preferred console. Don't bring that game into preview. No, bring it in. Let's see what it does. Let's see how it does. Let's see what you can do differently than what this other game isn't doing. What corner of the market are you going to grab? What kind of players are going to be there? What's the community going to be like? I'm interested in all of those things. So I would never say, nah, don't bring that game over here. So I'm excited.
Aren't you worried that it might go the way of the culling? Because I was super hyped about the culling because I was watching it on, PCP, players, PCP players. That sounded like I said PCP. PC players playing the culling, and it looked fun. And then it went to preview, and then they stopped supporting it. The player base dropped off, and then I'm out, $30, So
exactly. Like I said, if it does end up flopping, I'll regret my purchase, but I will give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm a firm believer in if you're not going to live up to if your game isn't going to hit a certain standard, then it deserves to die. PUBG is still building toward that standard, and it's still willing to support it, and they have the money to say, you know what, we have enough money to sit on, and if people aren't continuously buying it, oh well, we still have our money and we'll still continue updating it because we can. Then okay, great. It's still there. It's still relevant. If DayZ goes the way of the culling, then it shouldn't. Oh well, it's like okay, the week is just weeding itself out. Let it weed itself out. That's it. Gamers will decide at the end.
Punk and Luca, what do you guys think, or do you not care?
I'll be quick, man. Like I've never even looked into this game. I don't know anything about this game, so I have no offering on it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't care.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, people will be interested. Natives interested in it, and there will be people like Luca who say, I don't care. And like Native said, it's good that it's coming to Xbox, but it's kind of old news at this point. Cool that it's coming. People will play, but old news, man. It's just old news.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that didn't come sooner. Honestly, that's just really what it is.
Yeah, I just think it's a cash grab. Like I felt like the culling people knew it was a cash grab. They're like, okay, our game's going to shit on PC. The numbers are dropping. Let's get it on preview program for Xbox. Get that last cash grab, and then we'll not support it anywhere, anymore. Who cares? Let's move on. So I think that might be the case with DayZ. Hopefully, it's not. Time will tell. All right, let's get on to the last topic of the night, and then we'll get to what everybody wants to get to, and that's gaming. So this isn't really a news topic. It's a topic that was brought up today in Luca's podcast, and I wanted to talk about it. I want to know from you guys. So, virtual reality, is it a fad, or is it the real deal? Is it a fad, like a niche peripheral in terms of user base when it comes to like 3D TVs and the Kinect? I want to know what you guys think, because it seems to me like the only people that are hyping this up, and this is going to be getting a lot of people salty, and it's fine, are the people that own PlayStation VR. Okay, that's the only people that are saying, right, hey, you know, virtual reality is the real deal. It's going to be, you know, big going forward. But then we see the numbers when it comes to how many units are sold. And arguably, you could say and make the argument that the Kinect was a more successful peripheral because it came from the 360, and how many, you know, units were moved and how much money was made off of it, even into the Xbox One era, and that was a colossal failure. So I want to get your guys' take here. Is virtual reality a fad, or is it going to be? Okay.
No.
Okay,
yes.
Punk first, and then Native.
I think it's a fad. Just like you're talking about, like the 3D TVs and the Kinect, like it just doesn't last, and like nothing's gonna outdo something AAA. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the standard. Like how many you can't. I'm not saying it's not cool. So you know, don't get me wrong, but you can't sit there with all those cords on your face and sit there and like game for 10 hours or something. Like that's impossible. Not saying that anyone can't do that, but the likelihood of that happen is just non-existent. And then like we talk about the motion sickness. I mean, if you want to try it for a little bit, someone like me, I'd be on the damn floor puking, you know, probably in 30 minutes more than likely or less. It's definitely, I would say it's a fad. I don't want it to die. I think it's a cool concept. Maybe it will grow more, but I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is.
So Native, counter that, please.
No, I don't believe it's a fad. And the one thing that I will say that might offer you an insight into why I don't think it's a fad is cloud gaming. We're dealing with cords right now. We're dealing with these, you know, incredibly complex, you know, little adapters, and plug it into your PC, then reroute it back to your console or whatever it may be. I don't really know. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I just know that it's a complex system. But cloud gaming being introduced, cloud gaming actually having a presence in the coming, you know, couple years, VR is only going to get stronger. Imagine a day where you have your headset wrapped around your neck as if it was something else, you know, as if it was something that you just had constantly, like a cell phone. You were sitting somewhere, you wanted to play a game, something, anything. I mean, you don't even have to use your whole body. It's just something that you can visualize. You know,
yeah, but you're I don't want to cut in here, but you're talking about conjecture, right? You're envisioning where VR is going to go. I want to talk about the here. I want to talk about the here and the now.
Where it's at right now, it is difficult to deal with. I don't have a VR. It's expensive as hell. I don't have the software to run it. I'm not going to pretend I do. I mean, PSVR is viable. If you're going to compare PSVR with the Kinect, I think you're going about it the wrong way. Because with the Kinect, you're not.
Let me cut you off real quick. The reason why I'm saying that is the adoption rate and the fact that it's ahead of its time, right? It doesn't matter if you get a product out and it's good. If it's ahead of its time and people don't want to adopt it, it goes the way of the 3D TV or the Kinect. The Kinect had good ideas, but it was kind of ahead of its time. And that's the same with cloud gaming. The ideas that Xbox was, you know, trying to implement in the beginning of the generation, we're seeing some of those ideas implemented now. And then they're talked about with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox 2. It was ahead of its time, but it doesn't matter. It was a failure. The thing that I'm talking about is the VR, the adoption rate, and the current situation of VR. What you're talking about with the changes of cords and the, you know, this and that, that's conjecture. That's like in the future. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm looking at long term. But to say that it's a fad when it has something that you can envision long term, those are two different things. I mean, you can't call something a fad, but then at the same time have somebody else look at it and say, "Oh no, that actually has a future." I don't think that's accurate. I think that's a little fallacious.
Yeah, but if you look at the market for VR, right? You look at the Oculus, you look at everything else, the adoption rate is poor. Okay? It's not making money. The most successful VR unit right now is the PlayStation VR. And if you look at those numbers based off of how many numbers the adoption rate, based off of how many consoles are out in the wild, it's not good. So the thing that I'm talking to you about, this is a gaming VR headset. It's not meant for other stuff. You're buying it to game. The AAA experience isn't there. If I watch people play VR, it looks boring. It looks clunky. It's not on par with the games that we're doing today, and it won't be. Like Fonz was talking about the situation, and he had an argument with people. The gaming experience on VR is nowhere close to what we're getting on base consoles. That's why I'm saying that it feels like a fad, because the thing that I'm talking about is PlayStation is fully invested in their peripheral. That's why we're seeing, E3, we're seeing, 15 minutes of their E3 presentations are, designated to VR because they're invested. They invested money in this peripheral. It's just like the Kinect. The Kinect, Microsoft was invested in that, so they had to go full balls deep into it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking about. Like the gaming experience with VR is not even a fraction of what we're getting on console.
Yeah, I will agree right there with the idea that you can compare the Kinect with the VR because they're both peripherals to the actual base console. That I agree with. But I do see a little bit more longevity with VR than I do with the Kinect. That's just the honest truth.
So the Kinect spanned through 2 generations, right? It started on the 360 and it ended with the Xbox One.
Yeah.
You see PlayStation VR lasting longer than that.
I do. Because like I said, the tech is still building, the tech is still growing. Same thing could be said with the Kinect, but Microsoft decided to cut that off. And that was because their adoption rates were so
the technology in the Kinect was true, right? We see a lot of the technology from the Kinect being implemented into devices like the Amazon, whatever that's called. I can't think about it right now, but voice commands and all this other stuff.
Oh, the Google Home, the Echo. Yeah, exactly.
So that technology
being implemented outward. You have those things being implemented into other, little items and stuff like that, home items and whatever, what have you. But with VR, it is definitely a niche. Like it's a niche item. It totally is. But where I can't help but look at VR in terms of what it's gonna be. I can't look at it as just, okay, it's at right here, it's at this point, it's at point A. I can't look at point A without seeing point B that much closer. Like it's hard for me to make that differentiation. It's difficult. Comparing it to the Kinect is the right way to go, because I do feel that VR has much more longevity than the Kinect did, and comparing VR to a AAA game is just stupid. It's just stupid. But I'd love to hear anybody else's thoughts on it.
What do you mean comparing it to a AAA game? I want to know what you're talking about.
If you're gonna take the VR and say, oh, look at the VR isn't selling as well as this, or the VR isn't as, if you're gonna look at the VR and say,
I think you misconstrued what I was saying. I said the experience on VR is nowhere close. So you're playing games on the VR. It's a vessel like the consoles are.
The experience is completely subjective, though. There is no objective principle to that.
It's not subjective, bro. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, I jumped in.
Oh my God, Fawn's coming in for round 2 of this.
Birthday party's still ongoing, so I only have a few minutes. But I had to jump in because I think, Native, you're looking at this a different way, and I understand how you're looking at it. You're thinking long term in terms of, you see VR being a thing in the future, and I do too. Don't get me wrong, I do. But in its current form, the space needed, the cables, the headgear, the way it's just implemented at the price point, it's not really there yet. It's not. You can't compare these so-called AAA games that they have, like for instance, Farpoint. You can't compare that to a AAA game on, say, the X. Okay, no. It's just not there. But what else is not there is the adoption rate that Salty was talking about. Right now, you got 2 million units out there. For anybody to say that these AAA games in VR is just as viable or just as relevant as a AAA game on Sony's product or Microsoft's product on their consoles is ridiculous. It's flat out ridiculous. It's not as relevant because
1%.
It's a very small minority of people that own this stuff. And again, I will say, as I said in the chat, and as I said earlier on Luca's awesome podcast, by the way, catch it on the weekends, guys. Luca does some awesome stuff there. Seriously, I 3D, okay? Everybody was on that 3D bandwagon. Just a few years ago, TVs were pumping it out. CES 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. Okay. They were talking about it like it was the next big thing. This is the future, guys. And where is it today in TV tech? Guess what? It's being left off. Why? If it was such a big thing, because of the way it was implemented. That has a lot to do with the adoption rate here. Right now, not everybody has the space. Not everybody wants those damn cables lying around. It has to evolve. 3D can come back in the future. It can, but it has to evolve. We need to get rid of those silly glasses. Same thing for VR. It has to evolve. We need better tech to go with this product before it really becomes mainstream. That's all I'm saying.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with your sentiment there and what you're trying to get across. But to say that it's just a fad, I don't believe that.
We don't know. We don't know exactly. At this point. We don't know, and exactly. I admit to that. We don't know.
It's like I said, it's a fallacious statement. And if you're going to base it off of experience of VR versus experience of a AAA, that's completely subjective based on the user who's having those experiences. You can't compare experience.
But what's not subjective is adoption
numbers.
Rate and the numbers.
In numbers, yeah, exactly, numbers.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at 75 million units and only 2 million sold. It's only like a 1.6%.
Yeah, let's just spin it the other way, right? If we were seeing these numbers with the Kinect, right? Let's go back in time, right? And the Kinect wasn't forced in the package, and we're seeing the Kinect numbers that we're seeing the percentage wise with at the beginning of the console generation. People would say, "Oh, the Kinect's a failure. Kinect needs to go away. It needs to die. It's a fad." Same narrative. But we're talking about VR, which has been talked about for who knows how long. And it's PSVR, so it's okay. We don't need to look at those numbers. The numbers are fine, right? That's the difference here. And it's not subjective when it comes to
what happened. The argument of how this all started earlier was basically Porter Rock saying that when you speak of these AAA games, you have to include VR games as well in the PSVR. I say no, you can't really include those right now because they are not widely accepted. It's not an adopted peripheral that is really embraced at the moment. And the fact that these games, a lot of them, are just either old games like Skyrim or they're just crappy looking games. They could be fun. They could be fun to some people and they could have a blast with them. But I don't think you can compare them right now with these games that we're getting.
No, it's not a viable argument. And for anybody to try and make that argument is ignorant. And then they're just it's wishful thinking. That's all.
And that's why I brought up the Kinect thing. I brought up Kinect because it was like, hey, whoa, slow your roll. Because when you guys were talking shit about the Kinect games, and it was being sold by the millions. There was look, and they were saying, well, it was forced in a box. The Kinect might have been forced, but them buying those games for the Kinect was not a forced issue. They were buying them by the millions. There was way more Kinect users than there were these VR users. And yet at the same time, back then, these guys that are touting the VR, they were talking shit about those Kinect games. So
but the thing is if you're forced to pick something up, if you're forced to buy an Xbox One or an Xbox 360, and guess what, the Kinect is forced on it, it's part of that purchase. You're gonna want to justify that purchase by picking up the games that are for that Kinect.
That's not true, dude. There's so many people.
There's
so many people that
360. When I had the 360 Kinect, I did not buy Kinect games. I did not. Once I played Kinect Sports, I thought this is just gimmicky. I don't care for it, and we never purchased it. We never.
No, I get that, but then again, that's where the argument becomes subjective. That's where it becomes subjective. So there is no real way unless you look at purely at adoption numbers, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to differentiate the Kinect with the VR as far as numbers goes because the Kinect was forced. The PSVR
was the Kinect forced in the 360 era?
Nope.
No, it wasn't. But that was
and it was a huge success, right?
And it was
It was new tech, just like the VR. See, that's where the argument
adoption
ends,
rate
right?
fell off mid-gen.
It ends there. Well, who's to say that the adoption rate is going to fall off with the VR? It's even worse than it was when the Kinect came out.
You can't say it. You can't predict the future. I'm just saying, look at it where it's at right now. If the adoption rate continues to fall
based off of the numbers that we see, Native.
I know you're making
2
an
million.
estimation, and I get that, but I'm saying
that's what it continues to drop, right?
If it continues to drop, if the PSVR adoption rate continues to drop, if it gets lower, then we can say the same exact thing about it than we can to Kinect. Yeah. They both failed.
I'm not saying it's a fad. I'm not saying it's a failure as of yet. I'm just saying in its current form, it's not going to go mainstream anytime soon.
That's all. That's the only point that I was trying to make that you cannot call this a fad because it's difficult to call it a fad because of what the capabilities of it are. You had a limited capability with the Kinect. That's how I see that.
Let's be honest. Subjective. Let's be honest. What a lot of these dudes are probably doing with these VR units is Pornhub anyway. So maybe that's why they love it so much. I don't know.
No, it's true, man. I seen a video of some guy. He had the VR headset on and he had a blow up doll, and this other guy caught him, and it was just like, oh my god! Shit was like, there's people actually doing that, and it's fucking scary, dude.
No, but no. Okay, so hold on. Let me just offer my opinion. Let me offer my opinion on this. First of all, I was just minding my whole ass business today, doing this podcast earlier with these guys, right? Remind me to block Porter Rock for bringing VR up in the first place, and just leading to this VR spiel all freaking day. Personally, I'm with Fonz. I think it's too early right now to say whether or not it's a success. But I'm also with Irrelevant when I say it's too early to say it's going to be just a fad or a failure. Honestly, we can't really offer any opinion. I mean, we can offer opinions on it, but we can't offer any real insight on it because we just don't know. We don't know where it's going to go. Like, if you had asked me last year if I thought PlayStation was going to offer support for the VR, I would have been like, no, what? But it's like, it's getting games, and maybe they're not games that we're interested in, but it's still getting supported right now. So who knows where they'll be in a year or as the technology grows. It's just kind of like a starting point. You know what I mean? And I really just think that I really don't want to fucking talk about VR anymore. Okay, like, can we just like
we can move on. But I have to say this one quick thing. My joke about Pornhub was a joke. I shouldn't have to explain that to people, but there's going to be some butthurt individuals that are coming at me on Twitter saying, you know what, Fonz, F you, I don't watch Pornhub. It was a joke, so calm down.
And another thing I wanted to add before we close this conversation for good, unless anybody else has anything to add to it, I just want to say, see, this is the difference in conversation. The conversations that you'll see elsewhere and the conversations that you'll see here is that we at least from my perspective, is if it hits subjectivity, the conversation's over. But as long as you remain objective about the situation, you're going to bring in experience. You're going to bring in personal experience. You're gonna bring in little anecdotes, personal anecdotes, whatever it may be. The conversation's over instead. But you get back to this conversation of
native. This is what we're doing here. We're doing a podcast. It's objective, subjective. We're giving our opinions.
All the above.
We don't cut that out. Okay, that doesn't happen.
Subjectivity is fine.
It's a safe thing. Let me just get this point. It's a safe thing to stay in the middle and say, hey, it could be this or it could be that. The people that are going out on a limb and giving their opinions, they can get flack for that, right? If I say VR is a fad, I can get shit for that. You know, it's not the safe thing. It's not the safe thing to do, but that's what I like to do. That's why I do this. I look at numbers and I make opinions off of it. You know?
I'm just saying, as far as a conversation between two individuals go, it can go one of two ways. It can either go to where they have, I'm forgetting the word. You have just a general foundation and you come to a compromise. That's what it is. You come to a compromise where it's like, okay, I see your point. You see my point. Neither of our points have probably changed. I'm pretty damn sure I didn't change Fonz's mind about the situation, but we both have a better understanding of it. That's all I'm trying to say.
It just comes down to this, and we'll end it on this. I don't really give a fuck about VR, to be honest. Like I'm arguing I'm arguing for the side that it's a fad, but I could give a fuck less if it's a fad or it's going to be popular or mainstream. I picked the side of an argument that I wanted to talk about, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, to be honest, if PSVR blows up, who gives a fuck? I mean, enjoy what you want to enjoy.
Exactly.
If it's a fad, it's a fad. It's a topic. That's why I talk about it. So if you guys want to come at me and say, oh, you know, you're wrong because I don't care. I was just talking about it. Okay. So it's an argument. It's a point of argument. I picked that side, and that's the way we go. So
yeah, I've already blocked you on Twitter, Salty. Don't worry.
Oh, damn.
In the chat.
So, but I appreciate Fonz jumping in here because he loves to get people triggered.
Yeah, great stuff, dude.
So,
great stuff.
We missed you.
Check out my show from earlier. And you know,
Yep.
I know that went a different route there, but you know, it's all good. It's all good.
So that's the point of the Saltiest Podcast. We like to get you salty and triggered and stuff like that. So it is what it is. You never know if we give a fuck about these topics for real or if we're just talking about them. So let's see. That's gonna do it for the topics. Let's do our outros. I appreciate all the juicy combo. Everybody in the chat. You know, props to you guys. Luca, where can people find you?
Okay, well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I had a great time. Let me know your schedule and when you'll be free to hop on my show. You're welcome anytime, bro. And
sure.
Yeah, I had a good time. You know, fucking VR, but whatever. You can find me at the Ashen Luca on Twitter. I also have my own YouTube channel, and you can find me on RDX Podcast. That's Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Dealer Gaming's channel. Thank you.
Sweet. Thank you. Punk, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Punkadish Gaming and on Xbox at Punkadish, man. Not too much going on here. Just ready to get back into this crazy work week and see how it goes. Watch people play basketball. Only you'll get that joke.
Sweet. Nick, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Nick Fury. You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/Nick Fury. I wasn't going to make a big hoopla about this, but I was doing a giveaway for Bayonetta 2 on the Nintendo Switch. It ended today, and I'm trying to get a hold of them, but the winner was Skull Stomper. So if anybody can get a hold of Skull Stomper, tell him to get a hold of me real quick.
Shit, he was in here.
Winner. Yeah, he was in here. He's the winner of the Bayonetta 2 giveaway on Switch. So I'm going to try to get a hold of him. So congratulations to him. If he's still in here, congratulations to you, bro. And like I said, follow me. Subscribe to me on YouTube for Nintendo news. I'm that Nintendo nerd. And yes, I will be buying the cardboard. So get at me.
Oh, God.
Get at me all day. It's going to be a family project. It's going to be fun. I'm gonna buy it.
So when you rebrand your, if you do, are you gonna be like Labo Nick Fury or like some shit like that?
No, I ain't doing that. I'm just buying it just to see what it is and see how my kids do it and see what that like. I am not gonna do all that. Heck no. But follow me there, and that's it.
Sweet. Fonz, thanks for joining late. Where can people find you?
Yeah, they can find me at this birthday party going on right now, and also at J Fonzarelli on Twitter and on YouTube.
Sweet. Native, where can people find you?
People can find me here on the Saltiest Podcast every Sunday night. Just doing what we do best, man. And you can catch me on Xbox Live, Irrelevant Native. If you need my gamer tag, it's in my Twitter bio, where you can most prominently find me. Most active is on Twitter, so hit me up there. I believe Daz threw my handle in the chat somewhere, so scroll away.
Sweet. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this episode. It was a hoot, guys. This episode was a hoot.
Good times.
Sorry about that. I did roll the winner for the ID at Xbox Skateboard. I apologize for the week delay on doing this, but Super Bowl had happened, and the week was just insane with all these different things. But I did roll the winner for the ID at Xbox Skateboard, and the winner is Brandon Lilly, a.k.a. Narco Sleepy. So I will be reaching out to him via Twitter. I have his handle right here. So congratulations to him. And yeah, thank you for everybody for entering, and thank you for helping me hit 1,000 followers on Twitter. I appreciate you guys, and I'll have another one for 1,500 followers. So
yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gigglesworth. All right, moving on. That's an inside joke. Sorry, that was bad. Anyway, it was a good episode. It was a great episode today. Honestly, the news week was god awful slow, dude. I can't express this enough, dude. I was like looking at these topics. I'm like, goodness gracious, but we got through them, and it was awesome, man. And like I said, I love to debate. That's my thing, man. When I first got into YouTube, Zaire asked me to debate. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, so I'm like, sure, let's do it. You know, so I just like talking about shit, man. And a lot of times I'll go on the opposite side of a popular opinion just because it's fun to debate, man. And that's the way VR went down tonight. Like I said, I don't really give a fuck about it, but it was fun to talk about it. And, you know, I love, you know, discussing things and getting people triggered. So I think we accomplished that goal. You could find me on this channel because you're here. Salty is Gaming. You can get at me, you know, on Twitter. Salty is Gaming. The I is a 1, and you can find me on Xbox. Salty is Gaming, one word. So anyway, without further ado, like, comment, subscribe, and as always, stay salty, my friends.
Bye.